Welcome to What's Alive with Ashley and Bella. So you can join us every Tuesday and Thursday if we make it on. There's no promises that it will be every Tuesday and Thursday, but generally every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be talking about what's alive. This is from the macrocosm to the microcosm, from the infinitesimal to the infinite. We're going to discuss what's alive in the field, energetically, maybe even physically, like what's going on, current events. We're going to talk about what's alive in the transit and what's alive in our hearts. So if you join us today, say hello. We'd love to know who's tuning in. We'd love to know where you're from. We'd love to see kind of the reach. And I love and have so much gratitude for the gift that the internet has bestowed upon us. We all have the ability to talk to people all over the world. Space doesn't matter, time doesn't matter. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, everywhere. So if you're having a drink, cheers. And yeah, let's get into it. Bella's drinking her water. Let me drink some of my water too.
I'm always drinking. If you haven't noticed, I'm always drinking. I have thirst, cold, which is in my PHS. So a lot of liquid around all the time.
Thirst, cold. Okay. So, where are we gonna start? What do we want to talk about?
I do have the chart app, so maybe we want to share. Should I just pull it up to see?
Yeah. So this is simultaneously both the infinitesimal, because we're talking about neutrino streams here, but also the macrocosm because it's planetary. So I feel like everything's both. And when we say infinitesimal and infinite, it's all in the same. We have the stars inside of us. So as we're bringing up the neutrino weather, it's kind of like we're weather forecasters. And we're telling you what you can expect, this transit, what's alive in the weather, because the weather is influencing you, whether you realize it or not, because we're not having physical rain, physical snow, we're not flooding, but you could experience flooding inside of you. And so this is just a little sneak peek into what's alive inside of you.
Yeah, I feel there's something powerful with the sun and Mars together here in 18 right now, because when we have two of those, we call the three wise men, is what we call them in the gene keys: Mars, the sun, and Jupiter. So having Mars and the sun together in this 18, it feels, and we have Mercury going retrograde, I think it is today. So what is it that we need? What is it that we need to reflect on and maybe go back over again? And in Libra, I feel like it can have to do with also things that we decided with somebody else. Like maybe there is some kind of contract, there is some kind of collaboration that didn't work and that we have to kind of look over again. There might also be something from the past. I know, Ashley, we have been speaking with some people that we worked with before and exploring how to work again. So it feels like in Libra with the sun and Mars there can be things, there's action, and it's very harmoniously connected to the North Node. And the North Node is about truth. It's about Gemini. It's about being the messenger. And it's about being the messenger that's not so airy-fairy out there, but really that 20 has the presence. So that in presence is when we feel the truth. And in integrity is when actually we can know if a contract, a collaboration is right or not. And with that, we also have a harmonious aspect here with Saturn. And before it was in 19, so it felt like it was teaching us about the kind of codependent relationships and contracts and maybe way of being a messenger. And now it's in the 41 again. So here it feels like an anticipation based on what is in integrity, what isn't, based on what's true and what isn't. So anticipating there. Aquarius is very much that energy, and the 40 has that fuel to experience something, possibly something new. And with the manifesting generator channel in nodes that is activated now for us for a long time, it also feels like some of that energy to act, but how important it is to not just act in business, but actually acting in something that's aligned with that North Node, with our direction, with our integrity.
Is my audio on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love everything you're saying, and I'm looking at, you were saying the three wise men. So Mars, and the sun, and then also Jupiter. And we can see that Jupiter's in 49. So there's some kind of revolution happening, and it's in the 5th line too. So I'm calling in that as well to everything that's in the 18th. So it's almost like, even if you're judging something, even if things are coming up for you, know that something is transforming, and it's up to us to decide if we're going to react or we're going to respond to it, because that's what's being expanded with Jupiter. And it's not close by any means to where the 18 is. So it's like kind of happening behind the scenes in a way. And there is something about the IQ and the EQ, because the 18 codes for the IQ sphere in the gene keys. And the EQ is represented by Mars in our chart, conscious Mars. And you can see how Mars and the sun are together. So it's almost like there's this underlying hidden message about the Eden loop between your IQ and your EQ, looking at the interplay between your emotions and your mind. And you can also see that the MC and Neptune is in the 22. And so this is the MC is your midhaven. It's like the top of the sky. And it has to do with, I mean, what is veiled? If Neptune is about veiling, and we have had the 22 activated by Neptune for a very long time now, but now the MC is there right now. So I almost feel like we're needing to look at our emotions as well during this transit. Where are we judging our emotions, and where do we have a preference for how we feel? Can you allow yourself to even be in those uncomfortable emotions and let that be perfect instead of trying to fix it, trying to change it? Like, how can we allow us to respond and accept and bring in these emotions without having a preference or a judgment around them?
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think it can be uncomfortable times. Somehow we have 6 planets retrograde. Mercury just went retrograde, and we know that can be annoying, but with all these bigger planets, they're also retrograde until the next. We're going to have I think it's on the 7th of October, we have like just in a few days, three of the bigger planets, starting with Pluto and then Saturn and Jupiter going direct. But until then, for the next week, I feel it can be this kind of uncomfortable energy that there might be things that we see that we need to change. There might be a contract that needs to be broken, but there's not so much energy to do it. Well, we have the energy of the Sun and Mars, but they are not so happy because all the other planets are retrograde. And then what you're mentioning with the Eden loop, well, here we see that Mars is in Libra. He doesn't really like to be in Libra. Venus really likes to be in Libra, and Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio. Mars likes to be in Scorpio. So there is this kind of loop where they are not happy where they are. And at the same time, I think that there is something we can learn from kind of feeling this uncomfortable, not being at the place that you really love to be, but like, how can you do the best of it? How can Venus here in Scorpio actually look at these things that have been hidden, that have been secret, that need to kind of come up to the surface, that need to die? And also for Mars, it kind of is not always that diplomatic. It can be very much more the Aries energy, more individualistic, more action oriented. We know from the core wound and the EQ shadows in the gene keys that it can kind of make havoc in the world, because it doesn't have that, like, it doesn't have the seeing the whole and including the whole. So I believe if we can sit with uncomfort and we can learn from it, rather than becoming super frustrated or collapsing or raging, which would be all reactive, repressive shadow frequencies. I think there is a lot of energy that can continue to transmute for this last week before many of the planets are starting to go direct. And I feel like this is also coming from this code ring of matter that we were in right before, code ring of alchemy that we were right before we were in the code ring of matter. So we are in the kind of high pressure part, is what I feel, high friction, high pressure part of the wheel, where there's going to be that friction in ourselves with our inner conflicts with the other. Now in the code ring of matter, what Ashley was saying, the things that code for the different periods of our Venus sequence, when we have the parents and the everything we get conditioned in. So I would say maybe, sit still in the boat. And if you feel like you need to change now, if it feels like it's a little bit heavy and things are not changing, just know that that's part of the energy. That is, even if we have the action in the 2034, even if we have it here together with the Sun and Mars, all the rest of it, the chart is not like so energetic, so it can kind of keep you actually having to look at it. Kind of, I don't know why I see that, but it's like when a dog pees on the floor, then you're like, you kind of want to put its nose in it and be like, this is not comfortable, and then it learns, and it kind of can find a way that is more constructive next time. Yeah, so what can we learn from what's uncomfortable? What can we learn to have, like, sometimes I see the other analogy that's like a little bit less a joke. It's more like when you have to look at a shattered glass on the floor, of something that broke, that you were part of breaking, or that broke against your will, which can happen with the Scorpio energy and Venus, that you valued. Like sometimes just stopping a little bit and look at the shattered glass on the floor, there is a transmutation that can happen. Can you be whole and not fall apart just because something just fell apart? That energy I feel strongly.
There's always an opportunity to like look at something that happened that wasn't your doing, that isn't fun, that you maybe have to clean up, and look at it as like, what is the bigger picture? What's the message? What's the message that this is bringing to me? We could cry over spilt milk, cry over shattered glass, and like get angry because we have to clean it up, or you can see what the message is behind it. Like they say that shattered glass is actually good luck. So what luck is coming to you, or prosperity when you break that? It's like, oh, okay, well, this is good. It's like, can we turn this brokenness into something positive? My daughter has been loving to get into my bathroom and playing with my potted succulents. And finally, when I was doing the dishes the other day when Justin was gone, she got hold of it, went into my bedroom, dumped it out on my bed, and half of it was on like this ottoman, and she was rubbing it in, and like it was like dirt everywhere. I went in, and I wasn't even mad. Normally, I don't like mess. My kids know I don't like mess. They're like, clean up, whatever it is going on. I was in there and I was like, okay, Justin's away at a men's retreat where he's totally being transformed and going through this whole rebirth process and like brotherhood and all this thing. Maybe he's not supposed to come home to the old sheets that we made our bed with. You know how they have that saying, like, you made your bed, now sleep in it? I had to unmake my bed, and we didn't need to sleep in it anymore. And then I had to remake it with a new intention. And it was beautiful. And I wasn't even mad. I was like, thank you for getting dirty and letting me know it's time to clean the sheets, because your man's coming home and things are going to be different. So I looked at it as a positive. And we can frame shift anything and look at it as a positive, because it doesn't need to be negative. I think that we have an idea of how we want things to go and what we want things to be. And it's certainty. I walk into the bedroom, I want my bed to be made and I want it to be clean. I walk into the bedroom and I'm slapped with uncertainty and shock. And I'm like, well, what does the universe want me to shift? And I always look at my daughter, who's a reflector, as this little, like, she's a messenger. So anything she does, I look at it as how she's actually reading me. It's like a beautiful gift. I'm like, okay, I'm really clinging to this idea that I want this and that, but you're like, we're going to do this and you're going to do this. So I'm grateful for her. And when I can be mindful, I can change anything into the positive, because it is little gifts from God.
Yeah, and you took a picture of her and she was like so happy, like with her arms like this, and it was so much aliveness in it. And I believe we are in a third line day today, and I was just on a call before on a live retreat that Ashley and I are going to be part of creating later this year, and we were speaking about the third line energy, or I was speaking about it, and I that trial and error, and the keynote that we have in human design, the martyr, that that you are a victim for the circumstances. That's what that Ashley, you could have said, okay, I'm a victim of this and I'm alone with 4 kids, and but that's the beauty when the third line can come back into its playfulness, into its dynamism, into like seeing that interaction as something magic, and even have the humor of it. So for me, the third line is powerful in that sense, and we are in a third line today, and sometimes we can have that feeling on third days that, oh my God, everything is going wrong. I always break things, but I've been breaking, I feel like, even more glasses, and like kind of small accidents are happening. And I've heard astrologers speak about it the last weeks, and it's kind of true. But yeah, so there is some kind of energy that is not super stable, and I believe it has to do also with Uranus on the second gate. It is, whatever our structures were, whatever was used to be stable and fixed Earth, it's just there are explosions that are going to happen, and how we can deal with them and how we can kind of welcome them to kind of what can break in the cracks feels like important.
Okay, well, I'll leave you with this picture of Aurora, happy in her mess. Can we all be like the reflector, getting down and dirty in the house, breaking the paradigms of what belongs in the house and what belongs out of the house, and just be in joy. Enjoy life by being in joy. Like, get dirty, play with dirt. Yeah. So I'm grateful for her, and I really hope that instead of judging the mess that maybe you got yourself into or somebody else handed to you, look at it as perfection and find the perfection in the mess and the message for you. So thanks for joining us for this Tuesday edition of What's Alive, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you are. Thank you.